And it's so
There
crazy
was
because at the end of the day, I believe it came back to the fact that there were people in powers to be that didn't want you there in the first place. And so, and obviously you can only make an inference here, but my inference is that, he's part of that, especially being with Rochester politics, and then did something that was corrupt. And, that's why people don't like the system.
the judge that presided over my case was from Ontario County. He was hand selected by the administrative judge at that time that I had been having ongoing conflict with, that I had accused of creating a hostile work environment and discriminating against people of color in my job. Literally, I think that happened in maybe September, or I think it happened it happened a few months before, and then in August I was arrested and charged, and he was like, I have a judge that I can put on this case, and he picked the judge who was gonna ultimately retire. And then when my appeal went up, he also picked the judge that handled my appeal, who handled my appeal, said nothing was wrong, and then immediately retired afterwards.
So with the whole DWI thing, like you said, in most cases in Rochester, unless somebody gets hurt, it's usually just a fine or something small the first time. So did you ended up doing jail time behind this charge?
I did. I got a fine, and then I had a violation of the DWI, and I had a million of them. I had a million gabillion of them, honestly. None of them were real except for one. There was one where I got a violation I had like an ignition interlock in my car that I had to blow into. Now, I got a million violations for that. But right after the conviction, the trial happened in, I don't remember, but the conviction came in, I think, August. I think the trial was in August. I don't remember when the conviction was, but I remember I came back in November. But right after the conviction, I went back to my boss again because I didn't have a choice. It's not that I really felt like I trusted these people. It was that I didn't have anyone else. You know what I mean? They were the only people I could go to. I went back to my boss and I said, I don't believe that I struggled with alcoholism at all. I was not drunk on this day, but I do believe that I am in danger of suffering from alcoholism now. I said, this conviction has destroyed my faith in almost everything. I cannot believe that, and I felt very personally attacked. I'm like, I can't believe that you guys wanted to control how I behave this bad. I get it now. You taught me, you've shown me that I'm not bigger than the system. I have to do whatever you say. They had asked me to go to a rehab facility as soon as I was arrested. And I was like, and I know that I can't do that. That's almost an admission of guilt. I'll wait until the trial is over. So I said, I want to be very clear. I'm willing to go to this rehab facility right now. I still don't think I'm an alcoholic, but I know that I'm struggling with serious depression. And I know that I don't know how to pull myself out of this. I was like, I'm a criminal. I'm 35 years old. I've never been arrested in my life. My whole life has been the opposite of this. And not for nothing, I don't even believe in drunk driving. I think it's a horrible crime. There's so many people that deserve to die. And when you drive drunk, you just kill random strangers that you don't even know. So I was really frustrated. And I went to them and I said I wanted to go inpatient. And they kept giving me the runaround. And ultimately, they never let me go. They said that I didn't need to go inpatient. But I say all that to say that I was drinking now heavily. And not for pleasure, really. I was going to work all week. They weren't allowing me to work. I was literally just sitting in my office, staring at the walls, doing nothing. They were watching me to make sure that I was there from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They would literally come by my office and check. They would have the deputies check. It was so uncomfortable. And I would come home from work on Friday. I would get some type of hard liquor, which I normally drink wine. I would get rum, usually rum, and I would drink until Sunday night. So one Monday morning, I was going to work. And again, I had not drank any alcohol this morning at all. I had my 18-year-old in the passenger seat who has a license, got my kids together, got my protein shake, got in the car, blew in the thing, and it said I had been consuming alcohol. I had her get in the driver's seat and drive instead. You might have seen this. It was broadcasted that I made my kids blow in the breathalyzer so I could drive my car. No, I made my kid blow in the breathalyzer because you have to do it to start the car. And she was driving because it said I had alcohol in my system. So I immediately got out of the driver's seat. Now, again, I did not drink that day, but I was drinking all weekend. And the breathalyzer did not say I was drunk. It didn't say, like, if I would have been driving a car, I wouldn't have registered as intoxicated, but I was not allowed to consume alcohol at the time.
Right. So just again, for clarity for the audience and people who are listening, so that when you were getting in the car, you hadn't drinking anything. You had a device because of the DWI conviction that you had to blow in before you drove your car.
Yes.
And so when you blew in it, it registered that there had been alcohol in your system.
I think it was a
And
0.03, which is not even illegal, but I was not
right,
allowed to consume alcohol at all.
got you. And you had been consuming it, but still wasn't, you weren't getting ready to drive. So your child, you have her drive, she has a license, and she gets in the car and blows in it because you have to before you can drive.
Right.
And then she drives. So what happens? They call that the violation. That was
The
and that's
violation was
right.
me blowing into the device because I had consumed alcohol, and I had definitely been consuming. So the violation was essentially that I had blown into the device and I had consumed alcohol. And when I went back to court, I said, honestly, I didn't realize that the judge had ordered me to not consume alcohol because that is not a condition of a DWI conviction. I was sentenced to the minimums. The minimums is a fine and a surcharge. The judges don't have to tell you. I did an evaluation. They said I didn't have a drug and alcohol problem. So why would you tell me, an adult, that I can't drink alcohol for a year?
Right.
You can. He can totally do it, but that wasn't clear to me. So I said, I'm sorry. I cried. You don't even know how big a deal it is for me to cry. And I felt so embarrassed because I felt like I was humbling myself to the administration. They had told me to do it in the beginning and I wouldn't do it. And now I was like eating crow and saying, okay, you guys want to embarrass me. You want to humiliate me. That's what I have to do to keep this. Fine. I'll do all of that. I apologized. I said, I did not realize that that was a condition that I couldn't drink. I do realize now. And then I went to my bosses after that plea. I pled guilty. I had done it. It's true. I was drinking a lot. I went to my bosses and said, guys, I'm not okay. And I don't know if I can stop drinking because
Right.
I drink to escape this reality. I don't drink and go out and party with my friends. I drink until I fall asleep because I can't believe this is my life and I don't know how to cope with it. This is not really alcoholism. This is depression and I need your
Right.
help. And they essentially, they told me to go to a doctor from OCFS. OCFS literally picked a doctor for me because they wanted to make sure that I was fit to go back to work. And I went to the doctor and the doctor essentially said, you are depressed. I don't know how you wouldn't be depressed with this situation going on. You're all over the news. Everybody knows you. People say crazy things to you and about you on the internet. You can't not be depressed. And the best thing for you would be to go back to work. That's your sense of purpose. That's what you
Right.
need to go back to work and doing what you love to do. And they got the doctor's report and they called me upstairs. And I was like, I went to my law clerk and I was like, I'm going back to work. I'm so excited. And I went upstairs and they told me to no longer come to the Hall of Justice. I was not allowed to report to the building, get my stuff, and leave. And I said, but the doctor said, and they said, yeah, we don't care what the doctor said. And I said, the doctor said that I'm depressed. And the best thing would be me coming back to work and you essentially tell me I'm not allowed in the building. So at that point, I was feeling like this is like an attack and I don't know how to stop it. Like I'm willing to take my lumps. Okay, you guys can beat me up. I lost. When you lose, you got to take your lumps. So I'm like, fine, you guys jump me in, but you can't
Right.
kick me out. Like I didn't even do this. After that, I got arrested a bunch more times for nothing. And those charges all essentially kept getting dismissed. And then in May, it was my birthday, and I got really frustrated. I couldn't go to work. I had asked again. I couldn't go to rehab. I had asked again. And I was feeling really depressed, and I wasn't allowed to go to my job. And everyone in Rochester was saying crazy stuff to me. And I told my sister, it's my birthday, and I'm sad. I think I should go to Thailand. And she was like, I think that's a wonderful idea. I only had 2 months left on the conditional discharge. And I was like, I'll go to Thailand and I'll come back in August. This shit will be over. I'll have a great vacation with my kids to kind of deal with some of the trauma that this has caused in our lives. And
Right.
I'll come back and it'll be over. That's a great way to fill my cup. I had read Eat, Pray, Love. I was excited. And I went to Thailand. And before I went to Thailand, there was a bad blow in my car. And it was not me. I'm not the only person that drives my car, but there's a camera. And that
Right.
person was on camera blowing into the device to drive my vehicle, and they were intoxicated. They put it back. They went in the house. They went to sleep. Now it's not a secret anymore because my daughter did an interview about this, and it was her. But it was a big deal at the time because she was underage, and I was like, look, I don't care.
How many of our kids do stuff that's wrong? You know,
right? And it was the same situation. She had gone out the night before. I had went and got her and brought her home. She had drunk. It wasn't that she was intoxicated, but it still registered some alcohol in her body from the night before. She put the thing back and went to sleep. You know what I mean? She didn't, I was like, that's what I want my daughter to do. That's exactly what I want her to do. If it says, hey, even if you're not intoxicated, you have alcohol in your system, go to sleep. So that happened, and I had to pay a fine, but there was no violation from probation. It happened again in May. And I was like, well, I already know what happens when there's a bad blow. I can go to Thailand. I'll be back in August. I went to Thailand. My attorney contacted me in the middle of May. And I hadn't heard from him. I hadn't spoken to him. He left me a message. He contacted me and said, you have court on Monday. And it was Saturday. And I was in Thailand. And I was like, you know that I'm in Thailand. I can't go to court on Monday. And Judge Aronson issued a warrant for my arrest. He told me on Saturday.
Now, you know what? Now, you know what? I'm going to ask you, and I've only had one part two, but I think that because typically our episodes are about an hour, and I really want to dig in. No, you don't talk too much. You're talking just enough because this is a powerful story, and I think it needs to be out there, and it needs to be heard and understood. And on top of being heard and understood, I want to dig into what your experience was behind when you were actually behind bars, and then I really want to dig into the recovery afterwards and how you've worked on healing and now how you are working on helping others as well. And so I want to do that justice, and I don't want to try to wrap that up in a minute or two. So would you be willing to come back and continue this and do a part two with me here where we continue to talk about this? Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I told you this last time I saw you, when I saw you on the plane. I told you that I've been trying to tell this story and it ends at Thailand, and I can't make it not. It ends with me coming back from Thailand, and I don't know how to tell it any quicker than that.
So that's fine. And we're going to pause here. We're going to end at Thailand, but you got to promise me that you're going to come back and we're going to schedule a part two so that everyone can hear the rest of the story, because you know what, this is part of your gutter, but it didn't define you, and you have been able to still move to greatness and are doing great things, and it never made you gutter. You were always great. You just went through some things, and people go through things. And you know, as I close out and I do a mindfulness minute, as what we usually do on our closeouts here, is that we so often we think that who we are and what we do defines us, and we think that it becomes the only thing that's important, and it's so much bigger than that, because even when you struggle to get somewhere and you reach that success, God can take it away from you at any moment in time, and you never know when that's going to happen. There's probably something he wants us to learn from whatever he's doing, and whatever reason he's taking it away from us. If we're talking specifically about Leticia, whatever he took some of these things away from her, or he allowed her to go through these experiences because he wanted her to learn, grow, and develop so she could do something that was even greater later, because there's a divine purpose, and it's usually to teach us or allow us to learn a lesson. And so, everybody's lessons are different. Everybody has different things that they go through, and some of us reach greatness at early stages and some of us lose it. But it doesn't mean that you can't reach that greatness again, especially if you follow God's plan. So I know that Leticia is continuing to follow God's plan for her, that she's doing some amazing and some great things, that she's helping so many people. And I will argue, and I have argued with her, that there's more that she's supposed to be doing with this, from writing her book and telling some other stories that I'm putting her out there in public, that she's going to do because I put her out there. And now she's going to have to do it because, y'all, I'm committing her to actually writing this book and to finishing it, because people need to hear this and the injustices, and you need to be the voice that sticks up for us. And hey, let's make the movie too, and let's get paid off of this thing, because this thing is crazy. But with all that being said, I thank everybody from tuning in. and listening to the gut, from the gutter to greatness. And there will be a part 2 on this episode, so stay tuned for Only God Can Judge Me. I appreciate you listening, and let's continue to move from our gutters to greatness, everybody.
That's it for today's episode. So head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener that posts a review on iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing for a $25,000 private epic VIP day with Dr. Miller himself. Be sure to head on over to guttertogreatness.com and pick up a free copy of Dr. Miller's gift. And join us on the next episode.